everybody, JC here. Welcome everybody joining the live chat tonight. Um, got some trivia for you guys tonight. I know a lot of you are here probably to try and win the $100 store credit. So I'll go over some details on how you're going to be able to do that in just a minute. I've also got three packages here that I'm going to be opening up. Take a look at what's inside. And then also we'll just talk some toys. If you guys have burning questions, I'll try and field them to the best of my ability. I'm going to try and keep this to about 2 hours. So we're starting at 9, so we'll take this to probably about 11 o'clock. Those of you obviously on the West Coast, it's earlier, but here on the East Coast, it'll definitely be kind of late for a weeknight. I assume people either got school or work or what have you. All right, so let's go over the rules of the contest, and I will go over this a couple times during the video for those who joined late. I have 5 trivia questions, which I'll be asking throughout the course of the next 2 hours. And the way this will work is when I ask the question, the first correct answer I see, I will call out in the comment section. The first correct answer I see in the comment section, I'll call out. That person will win that round. Now, I say the first person I see because a lot of times these things scroll really fast. If I, hopefully it will be the very first person with the correct answer, but I can't swear to it, and I'm not going to be like, oh, well, such and such said it, the correct answer first. So it will be the first one that I actually catches my eye and I see, which I will be looking once I ask the question. Now, if you get the correct answer and I call your name out, I will then put your name into the bowl here, and you will then be entered into the drawing for the $100 store credit. Now, you can participate in all 5 rounds. If by some chance you got the correct answer for all 5 rounds, that would guarantee you would win. But assuming you don't get all 5 and somebody else does, people do, then I will do a drawing at the end of the video, and whoever I draw out will win the $100 store credit. Now, if you say you can't stick around for the full 2 hours, this video will become a regular video after the live stream is done. I would recommend you come back. I will now obviously be announcing the winner at the end of the video, so I'd recommend you come back. If you got one of the early questions right but couldn't stick around to the end to hear if your name was drawn, and come back tomorrow and see if your name was called, and I'll have the email in the video description when this becomes a regular video, and you can contact me and claim your prize. So, and it's open to everybody in the U.S. or outside the U.S., wherever Big Bad Toy Store ships, which I think is pretty much everywhere. You're qualified to be entered into the contest. All right, let's see, I'm just looking here. Do I look a little blurry here? I don't know. Is the camera not focusing? Maybe it's just my connection here. And can you guys hear me good? I never know how well this mic works. Jason Todd says it looks clear to him. Xander says no, but I'm not sure what he's saying no to. All right, I think we're good. Okay, and also the super chat thing is on. If by some chance I miss it, I'll try and call you out if I see it. But if by chance I do miss it, I apologize. But any support, obviously I appreciate. It's not meant as a slant. I just still kind of getting used to a lot of this stuff. And by no means am I bringing that up because I'm like wanting you to do super chat. I just wanted to make sure that if I missed a super chat, that's what it's called, right? The super chat. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll start off with the first question here in a few minutes, but I don't know. I got my gung ho here for G.I. Joe Classified. This came from Amazon. Now they lost the first one. They actually sent me a iPhone case. I don't know how that happened, but it was pretty easy. I just contacted them on the website, told them I didn't get my gung ho, and they basically sent me out a new one, which I got 2 days later. So let me turn on. I forgot to turn on the camera light. Just add a little more lighting. So I'll open that up in a minute. Let's see. Gung ho is okay. Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't look bad to me. I don't like the face that much. I don't know. He looks kind of sad for some reason. You know, I know some people wanted the kind of sky blue jacket as opposed to this kind of green color. The weapons actually look a little bit better than what we've been seeing with other figures. Yeah, strange head sculpt. So, you know, before we get into anything, you know, what's on your gut? What burning questions, or you know, what things are going on in the hobby? You know, I'd love to hear your guys' feedback about things, not just me, you know, rattling on about things that are on my mind. So, what do you guys? You know, what's going on in the hobby? You know, things you're excited about, concerns. You know, let me know in the comments. Tony C is sick of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Well, it definitely continues to be kind of frustrating. I know yesterday they for the NECA stuff they put up the Trag and Granitor, and you know, unless you happen to be sitting online, or if you had found it online, if you had found it on the website before. I know some people had set the notification to be alerted, which actually worked this time. But you had to have known what the DCPI number was, which, because people had been finding it in stores already, had already been hitting shelves for a couple weeks now. I guess the DCPI number did get out for it. I forgot to look around for it and find it on the website. So, and by the time I saw, like, NECA had posted on social media that it was available, you know, I saw an hour after they posted. Of course, it was already sold out. I heard it was around, it lasted about maybe 20, 30 minutes, which is certainly an improvement. I think primarily just because nobody knew it was coming or when it was coming, so it was a complete surprise, which is why it lasted longer. But definitely, you know, I feel like, you know, something like that should really at least be able to last a couple hours, but obviously once the scalper bots get wind of it, you know, it ends up selling out real quick. But I did see with the latest set that actual real people were able to find it or get it and what have you, so that's definitely good. That one is one, like, if I see it, I probably would get it, but if I don't see it, I can live without it. In fact, the entire wave, I would say the wave 4, the only one that I really want to get is the Baxter and the Splinter 2-pack, which they just released the official images for today, and that's going to be out towards the end of the month. So that's really the one that I gotta try and get in the wave, you know, if I can possibly find it. The others, you know, the one with Roadkill Rodney, or Rodney Roadkill, it's Roadkill Rodney, the little robot, the 2-pack with the robot. I wouldn't mind getting that one. I don't really care about the Triceraton, but I wouldn't mind the robots. But I'm sure those will probably get re-released in the video game line at some point, since, you know, they were portrayed in the video game. So, if you know, and it'll be a little digitized, but I could probably live with that version if I don't find the regular release version. And I think that's the next one that's slated for release, if I remember correctly. Kato's Collection. Oh wait, sorry. Xandar, Hasbro messed up with the Baroness. I assume you mean because of the Target exclusive route, because the figure itself is pretty good. And then Kato's Collection. Thanks for the donation, guys, both of you. Just want to say I appreciate TNI and T-Former supporting small reviewers. It means a lot to us. Hey, you guys help us out too. You know, we're happy to promote you guys and your reviews. I know there's not a lot of gratitude in this hobby, believe me, I know. So, you guys help out with content and stuff, so appreciate that. Will they announce basic G.I. Joe Storm Shadow? Oh, yeah, I'm sure, obviously, but keep in mind, we know what Wave 3 is, which is the Zartan and the Cobra Trooper, the non-target exclusive Cobra Trooper, and then 2 repacks, the Gung Ho, or not Gung Ho, but Roadblock, the Wave 1 Roadblock and Scarlet figures. Why those are probably, there isn't really a peg warmer. I don't see any of these G.I. Joe classified figures just laying around in the stores, mainly because stores just aren't getting that many. But if there was, the ones I've seen the most on pegs is Scarlet and Roadblock. So, I would say those are probably the 2 least demand. Even though I like the Scarlet, I like the Roadblock too, but I don't know. I kind of like Scarlet a little better than Duke, but I like them all, to be honest. So, but my point being is, why reissue? Why not reissue? If you're going to reissue figures from the first wave, why not make it Destro, or Snake Eyes, which are the 2 more popular ones in the wave? I don't know, but that's Hasbro logic for you. And I've talked about it before. Like with the Cobra Trooper, my guess is you'll have a hard time finding like the Cobra Trooper, maybe even Zartan 2 at regular retail. They're going to go quickly. They're not exclusives, but I still imagine they're going to go pretty quickly. Army builders and all that. But, you can pre-order those figures and guarantee you can pre-order as many of those Cobra Troopers as you want. The small e-tailers, they can, order cases of just the Cobra Trooper. You're not going to see a Target or Walmart do that, but definitely the small retailer guys, if there's enough demand, they can order single cases of those Army builder figures, and you can basically Army build away. You might have to wait a little bit longer, but, there you go. All right, well, let's do, what time is it? 9:12. Let's do our first question. So remember, first correct answer I see come across my screen here I will call your name out and you will win. I will then I'll write your name down on the card and then I'll put it in the bowl. And then at the end of the video, at the end of the stream, around, as we get close to 11 o'clock Eastern time, I will draw. There's 5 questions here, so you have 5 different opportunities to be entered in the drawing. If you're really smart or really quick with the Google search, then, who knows, maybe you can pull a win for all 5. And it's kind of a mix. Some are toy related, some are TV shows related, things like that. So the first question is going to be a Marvel Legend question. And this one probably should be pretty easy for most of you guys. What year did Marvel Legends make its debut? Alright, not getting it. Nope. There we go. Joseo Angel, sorry if I mispronounced your first name, but you got the first one. 2002 is the correct answer. So, congrats, dude. Your name is going into the bowl. Yes, 2002 is when Toy Biz debuted the Marvel Legend line, changed action figure collecting. Actually, it was the Spider-Man Classics that really was the precursor to Marvel Legends that started it all, but obviously also put out by Toy Biz. But 2002 was the year the first wave of Marvel Legends hit. Captain America, the Toad, Iron Man, that classic Iron Man. I'm trying to go off the top of my head. The other figures in that wave. Now I'm totally drawing a blank. And Toad was actually not really a Marvel Legend figure. It was ported over from another line that Toy Biz had done, had less articulation, but it was close enough, and I guess they needed one more, so they threw him in there. Definitely, we need an updated Toad. But 2002 was the correct answer, so congrats. And let's see, 2002, I started, TNI, which was originally called American Dream Comics and Collectibles, in 2000. So I had been running the website for about 2 years at that point, and Toy Biz actually sent me. I bought the first wave of Spider-Man Classics, but Toy Biz actually ended up sending me the first wave of Marvel Legends, which was awesome, and I fell in love with the line. You know, I've been collecting the line ever since. Let's see. So, gotta scroll down. Oops. Scroll down too far. Articulate Doom says he didn't know I run TNI this whole time. I thought you were just associated with the site. Nope, I started the site from scratch back in 2000, and at the time, you know, I guess I would say that, well, I've told this story before, but since we're chatting here, I'll tell you guys who don't know. So originally, my original goal was I was going to open up a comic book store. That's what I originally started out. I wanted to do. Out of college, I wanted to open up a comic book store. I've been heavily, I've been a super huge comic book collector. I had a huge collection, still do, but unfortunately, most of the comics during that period that I collected, I mean, there are a few gems in there here and there, but definitely that was at the height of the comic book bubble bust. So, but I was going to open up my own comic book store, sell action figures in it and things like that, but I decided I didn't really have the capital to open up a physical store at the time. This is, the birth of the internet. eBay was just barely getting started. The social media there was no such thing as social media at the time. And I started a website, I think it was on AOL, one of their things that they did. And it was called American Dream Comics and Collectibles, because that's what my comic book store was going to be called. And I got this idea, and I guess I kind of got it from like Toy Fair magazine, Wizard magazine, that did the toys and then split out Toy Fair magazine and stuff. And at the time, I think there was a number of Star Wars websites that covered like Star Wars toys, because at that time Star Wars was really kind of the big action figure collectible that was out there. Hasbro had just recently relaunched Star Wars, and the new movies were coming. The original movies had been re-released in theaters and things like that. And so there was a number of Star Wars sites at the time, like Rebel Scum and I think Yak Face was around at that point. But there really wasn't a lot in the way of just general action figure websites back then. I think there was maybe one or two. There was a site called RTM, which was basically just a message board, and then there was figures.com, I think was around at that point. And so I decided to start doing news, and I was actually selling toys at the time, but I decided to start doing news and selling. And I quickly learned that the two really don't go together, because you can't really cover the product and sell it at the same time, because if there's something bad about the toy, how can you say something bad that you're trying to sell to people? So I kind of learned that the two really didn't go together very well. And the other thing was, as I was actually doing pretty good, but I still didn't really have money to hire people and stuff, and it was getting to be, the selling portion was just too much, shipping stuff out and things like that. So I just decided to switch to do news, and from there, I met my partner, who had been running T-Formers. That was his site, and so we kind of joined up, and then we renamed American Dream Comics and Collectibles, which sounded more like a store, because again, that was going to be my original comic book store name, and we renamed it Toy News International. And then from there, we had TNI and T-Formers, and then expanded out Marvelous News later on, and Jedi Insider, I had a video game site, Game News International, but I really just, video games needs really somebody really dedicated to video games to effectively cover that stuff, and so that site didn't last that long. But that's really how things started for me. I really never would have thought that I'd still be doing this stuff 20 years later, but there you go. And Salome's joined us, everybody, here to steal some accessories from my G.I. Joe figures. Let's see. Sure I didn't. Okay, something's saying $300 here. I don't know what that is. All right. Anyway, so yeah, that's how I got into doing all this stuff, and it's been a crazy ride. Let me just say that. Somebody, I got a $300 super chat from. Oh wait, okay. Blake Tarpley. Hope I pronounced that right. Huge fan, love the channel, showing some love and support. Dude, 300, wow, dude. $300? That's crazy. I appreciate it, man. I really do. Yeah, man. Wow. That's crazy, but I really do appreciate it. You guys running these sites has its ups and downs. I know a lot of people think it's just like getting free toys and things like that. It's really not. At least it's never been for me. But there's a lot of frustrations. Just dealing with the toy companies in general can be very frustrating. I mean, I could tell you, I could sit here for hours telling you stories. But there's just an aspect of I was an action figure collector. I love action figures, which is why I decided to do this. I used to work a crappy job as a loan officer at a credit union, and I hated it. And I decided, if I'm going to work all the time, and you do when you're running your own business, you don't get a lot of vacation time, especially when it's a small business. When you don't have a lot of staff and things like that. If I don't post the news, it doesn't get posted. If the news doesn't get posted, then you guys have nothing to read, which means you don't come to the site, and ad revenues dip, and then so on and so forth. So the advantage of my job is I can take it anywhere I have internet, anywhere I have a computer, I can take it with me, but I can never just leave it behind, and that can definitely be wearing at times. But you guys, when you watch videos, or you come and you read, or you comment, or things like that, even sometimes the assholes, at least you're watching, right? So, I really do appreciate all you guys' support, especially you guys who watch like these videos on a regular basis, or what have you. There's a lot of, like I said, when I started 20 years ago, there wasn't a lot out there. But obviously today with social media, there's millions of Facebook groups out there. There's millions of people on YouTube, all trying to do their own thing. There's other websites, other, very competitive websites like Fwoosh and a few others. But I really do appreciate you guys. All right, enough blubbering. Let's go with another question here. All right, so this one is, I guess it depends on whether you're a G.I. Joe fan or not. This one, it is G.I. Joe related, so a little clue there. But what Miami Vice star voiced a G.I. Joe character, and which character did they voice? Tony C, you got part of it right. Remember, who and what character did they voice? There we go. Bean, 2099, got it. Don Johnson, who played Falcon in the G.I. Joe movie. So congrats to him. Bean 2099. Your name is going into the pot. Oops. Hopefully you didn't see those questions. All right, let's open up a box here. So this one comes from Mattel. I don't get a lot of stuff from Mattel, but they do send me these WWE Masters of the Universe figures, which I actually really like. Even though I don't really watch WWE much anymore. I used to watch, when I was younger, the 90s, 80s, and 90s, I used to watch wrestling all the time. But I think some stuff happened in the 90s, around, with the whole thing with Chris Benoit and stuff, and I just kind of lost my taste for wrestling, the way, the industry seemed to run itself. But, so this wave, this is the newest wave, Mr. T, so I've been waiting for this one. I think these should be hitting any time now, if they're not already. At Walmart, of course, these are Walmart exclusives. And I know the last wave has been readily available online. Now, my local Walmart has hardly had anything, 1 or 2 figures, and they always have the ring. But Mr. T, I pity the fool. Get the art. I actually like these a little bit better than the actual Masters of the Universe Origins. I mean, they're the same design, same kind of figure design and everything, and they are compatible with one another. But like these, you actually get unique, with each figure, you get a unique mini comic. Where I noticed, like with the Origin stuff, it's like the first wave figures all have the same mini comic. Now the mini comic is a little bit more in depth, more pages to it, but I like with these you actually get a unique mini comic with each one. So Mr. T is probably my favorite. Well, no, I take that back. Jake the Snake Roberts. So this is a really cool one. The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. It's not a character, this is a newer character, so not one I'm particularly, I've seen him obviously, but I'm not really super familiar with him. And then Seth Rollins, another more modern wrestler, so one, again, I'm not as familiar with, but definitely, pretty cool. So I'll probably do a review of these at some point. Thanks to Mattel for sending me these. And again, I believe if they're not out on shelves, usually by the time I get them, they're out on shelves. I haven't looked to see if they're actually out on shelves, but just generally by the time Mattel sends them to me, they're already out. So if they're not out yet, then they will be very soon. Scroll down. Ben from the bunker has most of them, but no Triple H. Not getting Roman. I have not seen Mr. T yet, says Prophet. Well, again, he's in the newest wave, so have you seen the other figures in the wave and just not T? My guess is Mr. T is probably going to be one of the more popular ones in that wave. Him and Jake the Snake, I think, probably. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if more classic wrestler fans collect this line or the newer one. I don't know which is more popular, the newer wrestlers or the classic wrestlers. Supersonic Station says he has them all but this wave. The Snake Mountain comes with Hulk Hogan. Oh yeah, the ring. Yeah, that looks pretty cool too. I don't think that's out yet either, the Snake Mountain wrestling ring. I actually think that looks cooler than the Castle Grayskull one though. So Ben says it's delayed until October. Adam Craig, love your content. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I was, like I'm sitting here trying to read your guys' comments, and then I'm like not talking, and then it's like dead air, and it's like, oh, that's bad. I better say. Michael says my news helps a lot. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I always, like nowadays it's like hard. Like a lot of the news is what called rumor based, meaning the toy companies generally haven't officially announced it, but obviously other sources have put it out, and so it's really hard for me because toy companies do get upset sometimes when you report on or when I report on news that they haven't officially announced, and but the problem is like sometimes if you wait around for the toy company to officially announce something, I mean it's already out on shelves. It's like what's the point, and they don't, believe it or not, the toy companies generally they don't make it easy to get their news. Sometimes they're competing against you with their own, again with social media, they're putting it out themselves. But I mean, that means you guys have to go follow like 50 million like social media feeds or what have you. And some of you do that. I see a lot of you that sit online a lot and follow all that stuff, which that's cool. But some of you can't either. I mean, you can't. Even I I can't. I don't see every single tweet that like NECA makes all the time. And Randy Falk from NECA sits on Twitter a lot and tweets a lot. Hell, I don't know how he does anything else. Sometimes he seems like he's on Twitter so much. But and like Hasbro, I was watching an interview with that they did with Unparalleled Universe that he posted today, and he asked him about leaks and stuff, and they gave kind of a soft answer. And the design team is a little bit different. The guys you see on camera with a lot of these companies, especially the big ones, there's two different parts of Hasbro. There's the corporate side, and then there are the designers. The designers are generally truly passionate about what they're doing and things like that. But there's the corporate side. There's the PR side. The PR company that basically Hasbro hires to be kind of a wall, and they're not the easiest to deal with. But I don't know. I'm kind of getting off track here, but just to say, it's sometimes it's a fine line that you have to straddle. You want to get the news out there, but like to me, getting the correct news is very important. I try often to at least confirm from multiple sources before I report something. I will call it a rumor until the toy company officially, announces it or what have you. But generally, if I'm talking about it or reporting it, I've confirmed it from at least one other source that I trust, and I'll even sometimes try to go to two sources. So, you can't always be right. I'm not going to sit here and say every time I tell you something, it's 100% correct. But generally, I do my best to be as accurate as possible. But you have to balance that with speed. In today's internet age, the early bird gets the worm. So I'm rambling. So Thanos, the Mad Titan, is excited for the McFarlane Gorilla Grodd. So speaking of rumors, I'm definitely interested in seeing how that's going to turn out. If you're not familiar, it's something that has shown up in overseas distributors' listings, which that's not something I've confirmed from multiple sources, but those distributor listings have been correct in the past, so they've got a good track record, which is why I did go on and talk about that. There's a Doomsday Superman 2-pack, which I'm guessing is probably going to be basically some type of reissue, and then there's the Flash. And the Grodd is based on the video game, the Injustice video game, which is pretty close to the comic, I think. So, the Devastator figure that McFarlane did. I mean, I don't have it yet. I haven't seen it yet, but I've watched some of the reviews, and Shartimus did a review, and Brad, the DC Geek, has done a review, and both those guys seem to really like the figure for the most part. Solid figure and everything. So I don't know if I'll get that one. I just because I'm not super into the metals. I haven't read the storyline, but the figures look good. I've got the Red Death figure coming. I just like that design. One Man Toy Show. I second that question. Those Defenders of the Earth figures look awesome. I missed the first question, but I'm assuming you're talking about NECA or maybe the smaller scale ones from Boss Fight. But I'm going to assume NECA. And NECA has not given any update really on those since earlier in the year. It sounded like they had gotten pushed back to next year for a release. So, NECA is probably going to be doing some reveals in the coming weeks for New York Comic Con, kind of like they did with San Diego. So, not anything officially affiliated with New York Comic Con, but during that time, I think they're going to probably make some reveals on their social media. So maybe we'll see something more on that. I really want to see their figures from the boys line. Definitely interested in getting our first look at those figures. The Amazon series, The Boys, they're doing the two figures, Homelander and the girl. Let's see. Hope we get into the Spider-Verse SPDR Build-A-Figure. Not this wave, but I don't think this wave, but yeah. You would think. Well, while we're on the subject of Spider-Man, let's talk about. I don't know if you guys have been following the rumors for the movie, the next Spider-Man movie. So this might be a little bit spoilerish if you're spoiler if you tend to be spoiler light on movie stuff. But obviously, news came out this week that actor Jamie Foxx was going to be reprising his role as Electro, or was it last week that the news? Yeah, I think it was actually last week that the news first broke that Foxx was going to be returning as Electro for Spider-Man 3. And of course, he played Electro in the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie. So the fact that he was going to be in a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie was, very interesting. But then Fox, I think it was this week, put up on his Instagram a poster or a picture, artwork, that showed three Spider-Mans looking up in the sky with electricity and his face, Electro's face, in the clouds. It was deleted, but, it definitely sounds like we're going to be getting some type of Spider-Verse, multiverse, whatever you want to call it, theme in the next Spider-Man movie where, I definitely think there's a very good chance we'll end up seeing both Tom Holland obviously, but Andrew Garfield and then Tobey Maguire return as Spider-Man as well. So that definitely it sounds really interesting. Now I don't know if it's going to connect with the rest of the. What really would be interesting is if it has a deep connection with the MCU, with the rest of the MCU, or if it's just kind of its own thing. And obviously DC's doing something very similar, it seems like, over in their universe, where we're going to have Michael Keaton Batman and Ben Affleck Batman in the Flash movie. So that I've kind of lost interest in the DC universe ever since Justice League. Not because of Justice League itself, but just because after Justice League, everything seemed to fall apart. Whatever overall theme that they had planned, it seemed like for the DCU just kind of seemed to fall apart because the movie didn't do as well as they had hoped. And so you started getting these movies like Shazam, which I thought was a decent movie. I had no problem with Shazam, but it really didn't seem to have much of a connection with the rest of what we had seen before. And then we were hearing all these actors are leaving, and we're getting new Batmans and all that. And so I just I like the overall universe theme with these comic book movies. That's why I always used to love the comics, and so I watch movies that maybe I wouldn't normally care that much about. the Marvel universe. You know, Captain Marvel is not a huge, character that I was super excited for. Guardians of the Galaxy weren't characters I was ever super excited for. But I got into those movies because I wanted to see the piece of the puzzle that they brought to the table for the overall MCU story. And the same thing with DC. So, and they started to do that with, the first round with Suicide Squad, Justice League, Wonder Woman, the Superman movies. But then, like I said, because those movies didn't perform well at the box office, everything seemed to fall apart. It sounds like maybe they've got a new strategy where they're going to use the multiverse stuff to kind of tie things back together and get things rolling again. Maybe even they'll start with the Snyder cut of the Justice League, which, it turns out I somehow ended up with HBO Max, I guess, because I had HBO. So I guess I'll be able to watch that when it comes out. So I wasn't going to get HBO Max just to watch the Snyder cut of Justice League, but since I already apparently have it, I'll go in and watch it. And, like I said, if they start to bring things back together, then I definitely can see myself getting excited about DC movies again. Assuming movies actually ever come out again, because everything keeps getting pushed back. Now everything's pretty much pushed back until next year. Let's see. Warhawk Legend 69, $2. Thanks, man. Did you get an interview with the Marvel team? I did not. Hasbro's not happy with me. Going back to covering the news for you guys. So earlier in the year, Hasbro has this policy that they say they have, but they don't usually enforce it very well. But that is, sites like mine are not supposed to report on any Hasbro news that doesn't officially come from them. That's what their policy says. So rumors, leaks, anything like that, if I report it, then I'm breaking their policy. Now, again, they don't enforce this policy. This has been something they kind of had out there for years. They've never really enforced it. They don't enforce it across the board. Plenty of sites report on all this stuff. But I guess maybe because I was not happy with what they did at Toy Fair. And at Toy Fair, it's not cheap to go up to New York City and cover their products for them. It cost me like $1,000 when you take in a hotel and travel and all that. It's not a cheap endeavor. So at Toy Fair, Hasbro did this thing where they brought us all in like they always do every year, and had us sit there and listen to their presentation, which was fine. But this year they decided to stream it themselves and on their Facebook page. Okay, not a big deal. But then they even made it where like you couldn't even embed the video like on our websites. So literally I had to sit there after, essentially traveling up there to cover their stuff. I had to sit there while they basically revealed everything. Of course, this is after they had already, they give out all the exclusive reveals to the corporate media sites every year, Toy Fair in San Diego and stuff. Never to the sites like TNI or what have you. And I've even asked them about that, and their PR people, and no lie, they told me that they don't need to do anything special for our readers because they know you guys will buy their stuff anyway. No exaggerate, that's what they told me. This was like 2 years ago when I asked them about, why don't they ever provide like exclusive reveals to sites like TNI, or not just TNI, like a Fush or any of the sites like that. Though we never get any exclusive reveals. So I asked them, and that was their answer. And, it doesn't help that they turn these streaming things into commercials for Hasbro Pulse, which I personally think is competing with the small e-tailers that are struggling to get by anyway. And if those guys go out of business because Hasbro's competing against their own customers, I've talked about this before. I'm not a huge fan of Pulse. I didn't really like what they did at Toy Fair. And so all of a sudden, right after Toy Fair, I get this, because I posted a rumor, and again, with these leaks and stuff, it's not like Marvelous News or Jedi Insider is the ones actually leaking this stuff. The stuff leaks out, We just report on it. Okay, if it's out there, I don't go I don't, I don't go like hacking into Hasbro to steal information so that I can post it or anything like that. But when it gets out there, it's my job to report it. But Hasbro came to me. I think it was a Star Wars rumor. It was a listing. It was like the I think it was the Cad Bane figure, and a couple others, which all turned out to be true. But they came to me and said, "You broke our policy," and at that point, I've really not. They're not sending me anything. They're not coming to me for interviews. But also with those interviews, I got to be honest with you, those interviews are really not that great because they don't ever, it's not like they bring on something and say, oh, let us debut a figure here in this interview and then we can talk about it or anything. It's basically they have you submit questions, which they have to vet, their PR people have to vet. You get, and so it's the same kind of questions. Everybody ends up asking the same kind of questions, and you generally just get the same kind of dry answers and stuff. So they're really, and I think you guys have come to realize that, which is why, I see generally when people post these interviews on their YouTube, they tend to be their least watched videos and stuff. So, but yeah, right now I'm in the doghouse with Hasbro, and because essentially I've reported the news that's out there, and they're trying to punish me for that. So no, they have not approached me for an interview. I don't think they're going to, and frankly, I'm okay with that because, like I said, it's not like they would actually really answer any real questions. All right, let's see. And if you didn't, there's a little venting there as I talk about that stuff because it definitely, those are the type of things that are very frustrating when you're trying to cover this stuff that you have to deal with. I mean, the amount of publicity that a company like Hasbro gets from all of the fans, not just me or my websites, even though they do get a lot of essentially free advertising, but they essentially kind of use the entire, especially with the birth of social media and stuff, I mean, they use that essentially for free advertising. All right, I'm losing. Shartimus is all over the place. I'm not sure what Joey's referring to. Bean 2099 gets a nice question. I mean, you can like I said, Unparalleled Universe. I don't know if you guys watch his channel, but he did an interview today with or posted an interview to. I don't know when he filmed it, but he posted an interview today with them with Hasbro brand team. I think Dan's Who's Reviews is going to be posting an interview with them soon. But, Unparalleled, asked some okay questions. I mean, one of the questions that he asked, which I actually thought was a decent answer, though it's not that we haven't heard it before, but he asked about, he asked about, like, the pinless stuff and why, like, some figures had, like, half, like, the arms had pins, but the legs didn't, or what have you. And it basically comes down to cost. When they can reuse parts from other figures if they feel like they can get away with it, that obviously is cheaper for them, and that's what it boils down to. But it was a good question, and Hasbro, Dwight gave it an honest answer and everything. But you don't really get a lot of in-depth answers with those generally. And I will say, the Marvel team is probably the best out of all the different brand teams at Hasbro. The Marvel team is the best ones. They at least try to some extent. Trying to interview some of the other brand teams, it's like pulling teeth. So my hat's off to at least Dwight and those guys. Those guys are truly passionate about what they're doing, and I think it shows overall. I mean, Marvel Legends are not perfect, but I think you have to realize that they work for a large corporation, and there are restraints. There's certainly financial restraints. Oh, actually, the question that I thought Unparalleled asked that was actually a really good answer. He asked them why, like, Joe classified figures had better articulation or something along those lines. Why the articulation was kind of better on the G.I. Joe classified figures. And the response was essentially, again, cost, but with G.I. Joe, you have to realize G.I. Joe is an in-house brand. Hasbro owns G.I. Joe. They don't pay licensing fees and things like that to an outside company like they do with Marvel Legends. You know, they don't get to make Marvel Legends for free. They have to pay Disney and Marvel a licensing fee to make those figures. So there's an added cost with the Marvel Legends that, say, like G.I. Joe does not have. So that means it's actually cheaper for Hasbro to make G.I. Joe figures, which means they can maybe do a little bit more than what they might be able to do with Marvel Legends. And so I thought that was a really good question that Unparalleled asked, and I thought that was a really good answer that, I think it was Dwight that gave the answer. But it was a really honest and a good answer. So you do get a few nuggets of information, but again, it's often like pulling teeth. And other companies, you know, I mean, you know, you can interview like Randy from NECA, and Randy gets, you know, will generally give you some decent nuggets of information. He's pretty honest overall. So he's a pretty good one that you can interview. I mean, I did that interview earlier in the year with Todd, which I actually thought was a really good interview, and I thought he gave decent answers. Of course, a lot of that stuff that he told us in that interview didn't end up panning out, but I guess that happens. But it's very hard to interview people in this industry, because if they think you're going to, you know, I know a lot of people grill us, the interviewers, because they're like, why didn't you ask harder questions? Why didn't you, you know, and the reason why is that if they think you're going to make them look bad in any way, they're very unlikely they're going to do interviews with you, because they don't feel like they have to. There's no pressure. It says, oh, we've got to do an interview. You're so important. You know, you reach so many people, and so on. So it's not like national news or something. So in their view, they look at it like they're doing us a favor by even talking to us, essentially. And so, but because of that, and to some extent, they're right, because, you know, I have no leverage, because it's not like I can quit covering their products. I can't run a Marvel action figure website and not cover Marvel Legends, right? So, you know, I'm, you know, there's not much I can do, you know, and so even though they're kind of like, I'm in the doghouse with them, I'm still covering their products, and I'm not going to make stuff up just to be like, oh, well, you know, to try and get back at them or something. So, you know, I really haven't changed anything the way I cover stuff, but again, I'm rambling, you know. I mean, this is stuff that means a lot to me. I'm not sure it really means much to you guys. I don't think you guys really care that much about a lot of this stuff, but Pixel Dan embellishes a lot to get his interviews. Prime One Collector says. Well, I won't disagree with you, but again, Dan is a proven safe commodity. So a lot of people will go to Dan for interviews because they feel comfortable with him. He's not going to ask them hard questions. Now, does that make for kind of a boring interview sometimes? Yeah, but sometimes he gets nuggets of information from those guys that maybe we wouldn't normally get. So, you know, there is a fine line, and, you know, does Dan ask way too soft questions? Maybe sometimes, I don't know. But again, because he's proven to be a safe space for them to go to and talk about stuff. I mean, there's a reason why Hasbro went to Dan to talk about those retro Marvel figures, okay? You know, there are YouTubers out there that are much more in tune with Marvel collectors than Pixel Dan, right? I mean, Pixel Dan's not known for being a Marvel guy. And they're Marvel guys that have probably get more views on their videos, have more subscribers. But those Marvel guys would have probably hammered them about articulation, right? You know, 5 points of articulation, or 6 or 7 with the spinny wrist. But most Marvel guys would have hammered them and asked them questions like, well, you know, there's a lot of 3.75 Marvel Universe collectors out there who want to see a return of 3.75 inch figures, but they want to see articulation. So why aren't you bringing them that? And those are the kind of questions that they really didn't want to have to answer. They wanted essentially a commercial for their new retro line, and Dan was the person they went to. So, you know, that's how it goes. You know, I don't think I really fault Dan for being that safe space overall, but you know, that's the kind of balance that you have to do here. And for me personally, I like, I don't want to use the word ass kiss, but to a certain extent, that is what is involved, and I'm not good at that. So there are definitely those out there that are better at that type of thing than I am. But again, I want to be clear. I'm not putting Dan down for being that way, because that's really, if you want to get the interviews and you want to be able to ask any questions, that's really how this industry is set up and how you have to kind of treat it. So. All right, let's go. Actually, what time is it? All right, coming up.
The time is 9:56 p.m.
Thanks, Alexa. All right. 3 questions. All right, we'll wait a little. Let's open up another box. So this one is from Big Bad Toy Store. Who, of course, is a sponsor of the channel and the websites. Somebody, one of the recent videos was like, I guess giving me a hard time because I always say, you know, when I mention Big Bad Toy Store, I mention their sponsor. But I'm not sure you guys realize that I have to say that, because they're not paying me directly to do this video in any way, but as a sponsor, as a paid sponsor, I have to let you guys know that, so that it's transparent, that when I tell you to go buy from Big Bad Toy Store, which I do think is one of the best detailers out there that deals in action figures, but also they are paying for me to advertise them. So, FCC has regulations that basically require me to state that they are a paid sponsor whenever I mention it. So I got the Red Ninjas, the final figures from Wave 2 that I needed. I got 2 of them. They came much earlier than I was expecting. They arrived a couple days ago. And originally when I pre-ordered them, Big Bad had them listed with like a December or January of next year release date. So I didn't feel like trying to hunt around for these things. So that's why I pre-ordered them from Big Bad Toy Store. But they ended up coming much sooner, which was really a nice surprise. So, definitely cool. I mean, they're an army builder, but I'm not as hung up on the Red Ninjas. Like, I think the Cobra Trooper is a much cooler figure than the Red Ninja, but Red Ninjas, to me, aren't as an intricate part of G.I. Joe as other characters, but I definitely think they're pretty cool. Mr. Anonymous says, Big Bad Toy Store takes too long to get product in. Yes, they can take a while, but I will tell you that they are taking steps. I've talked to them, and they are taking steps. It comes down to how they order their product, and they are taking steps so that next year they should be getting product in much faster. But the thing you have to realize with the small retailers is the way especially when dealing with like a Hasbro is really set up more to cater to the large guys than the small guy. And so the big guys, when they get product peg warmers, what we call peg warmers, product that's not going to move very well, it's not a big deal to a Walmart or Target. But if a small retailer like a Big Bad Toy Store ends up with a lot of peg warmers, it can put them out of business. So they have to order very conservatively, you know what I'm saying? And so that means sometimes they have to start out ordering in low numbers, and then if they see there's the demand, then they go back and have to place a reorder, but that can take much longer. So that is why sometimes with the small guys, it does take longer to to get stuff, because they just they can't order a ton of stuff that they're not sure is going to sell a lot right off the bat, and then be stuck with a bunch of unsold merchandise. But I'm told that they are taking steps to kind of fix that a little bit, so which means they are actually going to be taking more of a risk. But I think they've heard your guys' complaints about slowness with some of the stuff, and so they are trying to fix that. So we'll see how it goes. But Warhawk Legend says, I thought Big Bad Toy Store was semi-big, not small. Well, it depends on your perspective. So as far as online e-tailers that specialize in action figure collectibles, yes, they are one of the bigger e-tailers out there. But when you compare them to a Target or Walmart, they're nothing. They're peanuts. So I just had my pile of loot shipped yesterday, says Vanderpike. Is another Todd Father interview coming soon? Thanos asks. I haven't lined anything up. I haven't tried. Last time they came to me for the interview, they have not come to me since. But I haven't reached out to them. I haven't really been reaching out to anybody to do interviews. And there's a number of reasons why. But I don't know. I might do another one. Or at least try it. It's up to them whether they actually want to come on and do it. But I was actually right at Toy Fair. I had lined up. I was going to do an interview with Randy from NECA. I did an interview. I did a really nice interview with him at Toy Fair, and then the audio got screwed up with it, and there was no sound with it. So I was really pissed off at that. But I had talked to him and was going to do like a video type interview, because I had started doing that with like Todd and a few other guys. And so I was going to get him on, because I do think Randy makes a pretty good interviewee. He's willing to talk. He's kind of in charge at NECA, and so he's got a lot more leeway. He doesn't have a PR company that's basically watching over everything that he says and such. Same thing with Todd McFarlane. I mean, it's Todd's company, so he's not going to tell us everything, but those guys have a lot more leeway in what they... But to answer your question, I don't have anything lined up in the immediate future, but if you guys are interested enough, then maybe it's something I'll do in the future. And Salome's returned. 1313, her name is Salome. She is a kleptomaniac. She loves to steal accessories, so that's why she's here. She's looking to see if I have any accessories laying around on the table, which I don't. Any news on Fantastic Four from Mezco? Blake, no, nothing yet, but I suspect that they are doing their own virtual con thing, I believe next weekend, I think it is. Essentially timing it with New York Comic Con. So we will hear something more then. But no, I've not heard anything more as of yet. But again, probably in the next week or so, there's a good chance we'll hear something. Let's see. One Man Toy Show says Randy Fox interviews are the best. He seems to keep the collector in mind when running his business. I would agree. Now, he doesn't own NECA. It's not like Todd McFarlane, who owns McFarlane Toys. Randy doesn't own NECA Toys, but he does. He has a lot of say there, and I think you're right. I think obviously all these are businesses, and there's always going to be some conflict. They can't do everything that everybody wants, and sometimes just straight up profits have to take precedence, because you can't stay in business if you're not making money. But like with the turtle stuff, I mean, I know everybody's really frustrated with how hard they even still continue to be, but let's be honest, they've taken steps to get a lot of that stuff, at least eventually, into our hands. And hopefully they will continue that trend with the made to pre-order stuff. And they are walking a fine line because they are desperately trying to keep their stuff in Targets and Walmarts, because that is a huge bump for them as a company. You know, having their products on the shelves of Targets and Walmart is a big deal for any toy company. So, you know, they're trying to keep those guys happy, but at the same time, they're trying to keep us happy as well. And oftentimes, as crazy as it sounds, those things don't go hand in hand. And so, you know, my hat is off to NECA for at least doing everything they possibly can to try and find that balance. Brandon B wants to know how you enter the contest. So Brandon, periodically through the video, I'm asking questions here. We have 3 questions left, so you've missed the first 2 questions. But when I ask a question, a trivia question here, if you're the first person to give me the correct answer, or the first person I see with the correct answer that scrolls on my screen, I'll call your name out. Your name will then go in a bowl here, and then at the end of the video, which will be around 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, I will draw one name out, and that person will win the $100 store credit. So you've still got, you know, you're a little late, but you still got 3 chances to enter. So, and I'm going to be asking another question here in just a minute. Salome is overlooking the questions here, so I'll let Salome here pick out the next question. This one? Or this one? You want this one? Alright. Okay, so kind of coincidental that we were talking about NECA. This is a NECA. Actually, I was going to try and trip you up here. I kind of gave it away. But the question is, what year was the National Entertainment Collectibles Association formed? Now, there's 2 possible answers with this one, and I'll accept either one. And I saw the right answer. John Wood, you are correct with 1996. I don't know if you just got lucky or you actually knew the answer. But so the National Entertainment Collectible Association, which is what NECA stands for, was originally founded in 1996. Now, they didn't start out doing action figures. They started doing other types of collectibles and stuff. The actual, what was called Real Toys, which is kind of their action figure division of the company, was actually formed in 2002. So I would have taken that as the correct answer as well. But the actual original National Entertainment Collectible Association company was started in 1996. Action figures didn't come until 2002, but John, congrats. Your name is now going into the bowl. So 2 more questions to go. And I've got one more box, so actually, let's take a few more of your guys' questions. Steve Brent says hi. Any thoughts? D'Angelo asks, any thoughts on the HasLab Razor Crest? So I was really excited that they announced that. I had been hearing rumors about some type of Dagobah swamp playset with an X-Wing, and I was like, what the frack was that going to be? So, I mean, the thing I want most from HasLab for Star Wars is a Death Star playset, but I really didn't think we were going to get a Death Star this year. So the second best thing was the Razor Crest, and from what I've seen so far, I think it's good. It is pricey, but, you know, as I've mentioned, I mean, the BMF Millennium Falcon, which is an awesome vehicle as well, it was in that same price range. So I haven't put money down on it yet, but I will before the November date. I'm hoping the next assuming there is going to be another stretch goal after the Baby Yoda with Crib, I'm hoping it's going to be the Carbonite prisoners that we saw like in the first season. Colt Sievers, who the Fall Guy, that's his handle on Facebook. He actually was the one that suggested that, but I thought it was a really good idea. So I hope that is actually, if they do enough, again, they haven't said how many stretch goals they're actually going to do. They didn't, like with the Hasbro Sentinel Marvel Legend one, they said that they started out with 3 and then they added, but they didn't really say how many they were going to do with the Star Wars one. So I don't know if there will be more. I'm hoping there will be. But last time I checked earlier today, they were about 500 shy of unlocking the Baby Yoda, which I don't doubt that they will get there. Edwin says they're at 9,825. So yeah, probably in the next couple days they will break the 10,000 mark, and then hopefully there'll be another stretch goal. Well, Be Red Forever, wants more for the money, which hopefully we will get some more. But again, look at that BMF Millennium Falcon. It's about the same size, same kind of detail and everything. And that's how much that costs. Now, and that was at regular retail. You would think something at regular retail would actually be cheaper. But, I mean, it's expensive, don't get me wrong. And it's, being I already bought the goddamn Sentinel. I got the Unicron last year, and now I'm gonna have to put money down. Part of me was almost wanting it to be something crappy, so that I wouldn't have to buy it. Because I'm like, I can't keep spending all this money on this stuff. But the Razor Crest is just too cool to pass up. But I mean, based on today's market prices, I don't think it's that expensive for what it is. I mean, if you can't find yourself able to put the money down, I certainly get that. But just based on today's market prices, I don't think it's that drastically expensive. Well, you get the escape pod with the Razor Crest, and you're going to get the 2 figures. And this, I will say I was a little disappointed in the Baby Yoda, because I think we're going to get Baby Yoda in the Crib another way. So I don't know. I mean, I guess since I'm getting the Razor Crest, it doesn't bother me. But because I feel like we're going to get Baby Yoda in an air crib in some other fashion, I almost, that's kind of like a redundant thing. A speeder for the Razor Crest. Well, actually, I think for Black Series, they're going to do a speeder from the Mandalorian series with the white. And I think it's going to have, like, the Biker Scout's going to have a pouch for Baby Yoda. One Man Toy Show. Jay, do you think Mattel will expand the Masterverse line beyond figures based on the new animated series? Do you think they will eventually release classic figures in the Masterverse line? Well, I don't know if you caught my news video the other day or seen the news floating around, but it looks like we got our first look at one of those figures, or at least an early prototype with the Mossman figure, which really looks to me like it's based on the 2000X design. Maybe that's how he's going to end up looking in the new cartoon. I don't know. But to me, it's very reminiscent of the 2000X design. Now, I can't say 100% that how legit that image is, so we'll have to wait and see. But yes, I mean, if you think about the name Masterverse, that really kind of makes you think like it's going to include everything. So yes, I mean, I don't know if they're going to release the exact same classic figures. My guess is we'll get new figures, but if you mean of the classic designs, yes, I think they will probably do that, assuming the line, does well, and depending on how long it lasts and everything. Chris Allen thinks the image, I guess he's talking about Mossman as a fan custom. It came from a distributor. It looked like it was something that, but I don't know. I mean, there's nothing. I haven't seen anything that proves it's not legit, but that's one of those where I showed folks, but I don't have any confirmation or on it. So I honestly don't know on that. Martinez wants to know if 2009 G.I. Joe movie figures in 6-inch scale, yes or no? If you're asking, do I want to see 2009 G.I. Joe figures in 6-inch scale, I would have to say no. Scalpers suck. You know, this is something I was going to bring up. So, I kind of want to know, when did scalping become acceptable in this hobby, or even, I dare say, deemed by some as a cool thing to do? And the reason why I'm asking this question is I've seen, as I occasionally peruse some of the Facebook groups that are out there, I've more than once seen where guys will post images of, and today I saw like two different, completely different groups. One was Star Wars and one was G.I. Joe, where guys were like posting images of stuff that essentially looked like they had gotten to resell. What in the Star Wars, it was like multiples of Cad Bane and the G.I. Joe. I forget what it was in the G.I. Joe. But the thing is like people post these images, and then it's like other people chime in and like, oh, that's awesome. Or like if somebody says, why are you buying all those? I mean, why do you need like 3 or 4 Cad Banes? And other people then all of a sudden chime in and start, oh, why are you crying? Or such things like that. They're actually like defending buying the figures. Now, if you're buying, if you buy like 2 of a character, one to keep in the package and one to, open, that's one thing. If maybe you're buying an extra for a friend, that's one thing. But when you're buying, obviously, to resell, when did it become cool to do that at a high price? I mean, I don't know. It just, maybe I'm just confused on that, because like it used to be like if somebody came into like a message board or something and they started bragging about scalping, I mean, those people would be virtually tarred and feather. And there's not a lot of things in the world today that people will agree on. I get that. Almost anything, any issue you can find, there's going to be people that are going to disagree. But in the world of action figure collecting, I thought it was pretty much universally agreed upon that scalping as a whole is bad. Now, I understand that some people will still buy from the scalpers because they're just so frustrated or tired of trying to hunt down the stuff. I get that to a certain extent. Now, again, as I've said before, the only way you're ever truly going to get rid of scalpers is if you quit buying from them, so that they're stuck with the unsold merchandise. But as long as there's people willing to buy from a scalper, there's always going to be someone willing to scalp it. But still, that it's almost become like this cool thing to do, to go around to these Facebook groups and stuff and post like these images of all these toys that you've scalped, and then other people are like, oh yeah, that's cool, man, awesome. I mean, I don't know, it's just very confusing to me to see that. And I've seen it more, like if it was just like one time or something in one group or something, I could see that. But I've seen it a couple different times. I don't spend a lot of time in Facebook groups. I just don't have the time. I'll go on my own Facebook wall and chat with people when I have the time, but I don't generally have. But sometimes, you just scroll down your wall and you see these things pop up, and it's like, what the hell is going on here? How can I get a Cobra Trooper that is only piece I need to complement the wave? Well, if you mean the Target one, I don't know. It's not gonna. I don't know if Target's still getting any more of those or not. I'm gonna say probably not. But obviously, there's the regular version, which is almost identical. So that would be what I would recommend, and you can go pre-order it at any place online that sells them, and that's what I would do. I wouldn't really worry about trying to hunt them down at retail when they come out. So, am I parting with the Batcave and Alfred? No, actually, it's right. You can't see it, and I'm not going to try and turn the camera, but it's actually right up here. Actually, I assume you're talking about the DC collectible one, and Actually, it's a display. I've made it into a display piece. Originally the lights on and everything are supposed to be battery powered, but there's actually a way you can plug in like an AC plug, so you can keep it lit all the time. So I have it on display up here. I keep the lights on, the Batcave lights on all the time. I've got Alfred and Batman, and actually I have the DC Multiverse Alfred. Or no, I take that back. I have the DC collectible Batman figures from the Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle line up there on display with my Batcave. I will eternally regret not getting that Batcave, Vander Pike says. Yeah, it is a pretty cool DC. Obviously the initial stickers that they came with it didn't stick too well, so they ended up having to do the new ones that they sent out to people. But overall, it is a pretty cool playset. I mean, all those animated series stuff that they did, the Batmobile, which I have over here. Again, you can't see it, I understand. I have the Batwing hanging up on the wall over here, behind my computer screen over there. I had to jury rig it so I could hang it up on the wall. But yeah, those are all good vehicles. Oh, and the Batcycle is behind me, in that shelf, that lighted shelf that you see back there. So they're all cool vehicles. We never got the Batboat, unfortunately, but those are really cool vehicles. I don't think, honestly though, I don't think they sold super great for DC Collectibles. It seems like the sales were never super great for them. But they were really good, cool vehicles and playsets and stuff. I think the Batmobile actually did pretty well for them, but then the sales I think started to kind of sink a little bit after the Batmobile. D'Angelo wants to know why we're getting so many McFarlane Batman figures. Well, Batman sells. Todd seems to have an affinity for Batman. There's some indication that Warner Brothers wanted him to do Batman. I don't know how true that is. But I think at the end of the day, Batman's a well-known character and he sells, and so that's what Todd has been doing. Any DC Direct news? Martinez asks. Well, I mean, the company's pretty much no more. I mean, as far as like putting out new product. I saw a rumor a couple weeks ago about DC product being canceled, which I was not able to confirm. Last word I had was that anything that was solicited this year would end up getting released, and I've not heard anything from any source that I know that contradicts that. And when I saw that rumor about stuff being canceled, I did reach out. So communication with DC itself is very difficult these days, as you can probably imagine. But I reached out to some e-tailers to see if they had gotten word that they were canceled, anything had been canceled, and last time I checked, they had not. Mr. Anonymous wants to know if he sees the man standing in the corner just now. Now you're freaking me out, dude. What corner? What man? Anyone else mad that we never got Marvel Legends style DC figures? Joey is asking. Well, I don't know if you saw those David Vonner figures, but he tried to get them to us, but Mattel, again, cost apparently. Mattel didn't want to put in the money for the tooling to change up those figures, so we never got them. Tristan wants to know, I mean, I don't have any inside sources. I haven't looked in a long time, so I would just check places like, See Big Bad. I don't know if they still have it. They maybe not. But unfortunately, I don't have any way of getting you a cheap Batcave, unfortunately, my man. Who will produce a Batman Returns Catwoman? Well, NECA's got the 18-inch one, which they're actually re-releasing. But I don't know if or when we'll see like a 6 or 7-inch scale version. All right, let's go to another question. Salome has returned. Salome is now hogging up the camera. All right, Salome, which question are we going to ask? Salome's undecisive, so... Oh, Salome's trying to steal names out of the bowl. People won't be happy if you take their name out, Salome. Maybe Salome's just trying to draw the name, I don't know, but Salome, you're being too early. All right. This is the next question. Let me go over the rules real quick, just in case you're just now joining. I've been asking questions. There's been a total of 5 questions, or there will be a total of 5 questions asked. I've got 2 left. I'm going to ask the question here, and first person who gives me the correct name, I will call their name out, and then their name will go into the bowl, and then at the end here, around a little before 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, I will draw one of these names out of the bowl, and that person will win the $100 store credit. So far, we haven't gotten any repeat winners. I mean, if you get more than one question right, you can be entered more than once. But so far, not got repeat winners yet. But this is question number 4 out of 5. What did Mr. T first appear in? The A-Team or Rocky 3? Let's see. Gunstar, or no, I'm sorry. Sorry. Gilgamesh beat you, or no. Now I'm scrolling up. SGF 129, you're the first person with the correct answer, which is Rocky 3. Rocky 3 came out in 1982. The first episode of the A-Team debuted in 1983. So, congrats to SGF 129. Your name is going into the bowl. Okay, so we got one more question, which I'll ask in a few minutes. All right, one more box. Let's go and open up the last box here. So this one came from Square Enix, the guys who do the Avengers video game. So, sadly, I have still not really had time to sit down and play the game, which I feel kind of bad about, since they did send me the game. You know, it's kind of sad that video game companies do more for me than toy companies, but they sent me this box. I just knocked Cobra Commander off the table. So it is for the Avengers game, and I've never, I'm sure some of you out there have played it. So, let me know your thoughts on it if you have. So, we got the boxes on these things are always sometimes cooler than the contents themselves. So my name's on the inside here. Okay. So, got some cool artwork for the characters from the game, the main Avengers. On both sides. What's over here? So, an Avengers comic book, Road to It A-Day. So, I guess an Avengers or a Marvel comic tie-in to the video game, which I will definitely read. I don't know if this, I assume this is something that was made readily available to everybody. But pretty cool. It's funny though, this whole side is made just to hold this one little comic. Put that back in. So I got a hat, Avengers hat, t-shirt, a water bottle, that's cool, and then Funko Pops based on the Avengers video. I think these, oops, knocked another figure off. I think now Salome is gonna go steal accessories. And I think these were released. I don't think these are exclusive to this box. I might be wrong. I don't follow Funko Pops that closely, but I'm pretty sure these are all regular releases, including the glow-in-the-dark chase for Black Widow. But pretty cool overall. So thanks to Square Enix for sending that. Again, I haven't played the video game, so the only Marvel Legend figure I got so far is the Captain America figure. I didn't get like the Iron Man from the first wave, or the Miss Marvel. I went on and got the entire second wave just so I could have the Mr. Fix-It figure. But oh yeah. So like I said, if you played the game, yeah, let me know what you think of it. Undone. I hope we get a Black Widow and God of Thunder. Let's see. Any new Marvel Legend waves coming? Well, yeah, there's always Marvel Legend waves coming. You have to be a little more specific. You're welcome, Tristan. Pantera 5 hopes the G.I. Joe game is going to be good. And yeah, I'm always skeptical about games like that. I mean, they'll probably have some good cutscenes and everything, but the game itself, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I agree. I hope it's cool. We need a Feral. Vic says we need a Feral to complete our X-Force. We need Feral for X-Force, and we need X-Factor Wolfsbane to complete X-Factor. But yes, I agree. Vic says the new Joe game looks like Fortnite. D'Angelo wants to know what new Marvel Legend Wave has me the most excited. Well, I really like the comic book figures in the new Avengers Wave, which I don't have yet, but from what I've seen, I love Thunderstrike. He's one of my favorite characters from the '90s, so I'm glad we're getting him. He'll go nicely with War Machine and U.S. Agent, though we desperately need an updated U.S. Agent. I hear the Kang figure is a great figure, so that's one I'm definitely looking forward to. And the Jocasta is probably the one I'm least excited about, other than the two video game figures, which are essentially kind of repaints or what have you. But and then, am I missing one? Kang, Jocasta, Thunderstrike. Maybe that's it. And obviously the Mr. Fix-It. The Mr. Fix-It I was a little disappointed in. Now I've seen more up close in some of the reviews. That kind of grayish green skin. I'm video game accurate, I get, but I would have rather had a comic book. Oh, Falcon. Thank you, Blake. Yeah, Falcon, which I haven't watched closely the reviews on that one, so I'll be interested to see how well the wings stay attached to that figure, because I know past figures like the Vulture and stuff, the wings are always a pain in the ass, but I'm definitely glad we got that version of Falcon. Yeah, Vic, I agree. I wish the Mr. Fix-It was a comic book one with a pinstripe suit. I'm sure at some point Hasbro may, essentially give us a deluxe version of that. Repaint, retool the figure a little bit and give us a comic book version. So I would not be surprised if that's something that comes down the road. Podtetra 5 asks if I got in on the Spawn Kickstarter. I did not. I thought about it, but I like Spawn, but I've never been a huge Spawn toy collector. So I got the Mortal Kombat one, and I just kind of felt that was good enough for me. So I did not get in on the Kickstarter. Look, I'm still waiting to see how the final version ends up looking, but I think it'll be a decent figure. I know some people are upset with the whole torso articulation and everything, but space is every collector's worst enemy. Well, that and lack of money, but yes, I agree, Mike. Chris asked if I think McFarlane will make the 1989 Keaton Batman. Well, since Keaton is probably going to appear in the upcoming Flash movie, probably get some version of him. Though I gotta be honest, McFarlane really has not shown an affinity for doing movie figures so far. Now it's hard to judge that, since obviously movies are being delayed left and right. But I'm not. We had that. There was supposed to be the Harley Quinn figure, which never got released. It essentially got canceled. I don't know if, I guess because the movie did so poorly, they canceled the figure for some reason. But so we never got that. We did get the 2 Wonder Woman figures, but those kind of seem to warm the pegs. I see those everywhere. So I don't know. I would think once that Flash movie comes out, again, we'll probably at least get an older version. But will we get an original Michael Keaton Batman? McFarlane seems to be steering away from things that other companies have done fairly recently. So since NECA already did one, I don't know. But of course, it is Batman, so we know how Todd likes Batman. So that's always a plus for something like that. Tristan asks, what are my thoughts on Patterson Batman and DC Collectibles changing the name? Should it survive the market crash? Well, unfortunately, it does not look like DC Direct, which that was their original name, but it doesn't look like they've really survived. So I don't really expect much from DC Direct / collectibles anymore, unfortunately. I mean, things could change down the road, but right now it looks like McFarlane's it for collector-oriented DC figures. As far as the name change, well, again, I mean, they were going back to their original name, so I didn't see much point to it, but it didn't bother me. Let's see. Vic asks, will they ever re-release the Sentinel Kickstarter if we missed it initially? I never say never, but I wouldn't expect a re-release anytime soon. If you missed out on it and you want to get it, I mean, I think you can probably still get it at pre-order at places like Big Bad at a higher cost, and I haven't checked recently, so I won't say that 100%, but essentially, again, I won't say never, but I wouldn't expect anything anytime soon. Let's see, what time are we at? Got 20 minutes left, so we'll get to our final trivia question here in just a moment. Yeah, as far as I see a lot of you guys talking about McFarlane stuff, and I see, obviously, I mean, you can put me in the boat of I think McFarlane's overdone the Batman. I think if McFarlane would just kind of go back and forth, like do a wave of non-Batman and then do a wave of Batman, I think that would be so much better. And maybe we'll get to that point, but you got to admit that a lot of those Batman figures that he is doing look pretty cool. So, I don't know. And some people, like the Batman. I mean, obviously, if you're a Batman fan, then you're probably in paradise. But I broke down and pre-ordered one of those McFarlane design Batman figures. Yeah, the Jack Nicholson Joker is not likely from anybody because of getting Jack Nicholson's rightness like so. I think Hot Toys, I want to say Hot Toys is maybe the only company that's successfully done that. Ryan wants to know what G.I. Joe and Cobra character do I want to see next? Well, like many people, I am waiting for the Cobra version of Storm Shadow. I would also, one of my favorite Cobras is the Crimson Guardsman. As far as Cobra Soldiers go, that's probably my favorite version of the Cobra Soldier. And of course, if you get Crimson Guardsmen, you got to get the twins. So I'd love to see those as well. Major Blood is another favorite Cobra of mine, so I would love to see him. For Joe's, I'd probably rather see more classic characters than newer ones off the bat. So I'd like to see Stalker. I wouldn't mind seeing Lady J and Flint. So, but like Stalker and Torpedo, Snowjob, Doc, Flash, Grunt. Grunt was my very first G.I. Joe figure as a kid that I got, which is probably, I mean, honestly, Grunt is probably one of the most boring Joes. He looks like a regular, his name is fitting because he looks like a grunt, but there's some nostalgia there just because Grunt was my very first G.I. Joe figure. Grunt was my first the two first G.I. Joe items I got, which I got at a Walgreens store as a kid, was a Grunt and the Cobra snake armor. Chris wants a hooded Cobra Commander. Yeah, I've seen some really awesome customizers who have made some really nice hooded Cobra Commander heads that fit on this figure. But yeah, I agree. We've got We're up to 3 Cobra Commanders now, and not one is hooded, so I agree. Everett wants to know if I think we'll get a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. If you're asking, do I think Tobey Maguire is going to appear in in the next Spider-Man movie? Well, indications would strongly suggest that, but I don't know. If you're asking, do I think we'll get a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man figure? Well, if Maguire ends up returning to Marvel movies, then yes, I think we'll definitely see a Maguire, Tobey Maguire Marvel Legend figure. David wants to know if there are character properties you'd like to see that aren't currently being made. I mean, as a kid, the main lines I collected were G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Star Wars, so I'm pretty covered there. I'd be interested to see what Hasbro would do with like a mask line. I didn't actually collect masks as a kid. I never had any of the original mask toys. So there's not a huge nostalgia factor there for me with something like masks, but it's an interesting enough property. I did watch the cartoons. The cartoons were always on at a weird time. It would come on like late in the morning where I lived as a kid, which meant unless I was homesick from school, I was in school when Mask came on TV. So I actually didn't watch Mask as regularly as I did some of the other cartoons from that time period. But I wouldn't mind seeing, if Hasbro gave us a new Mask line. But off the top of my head, there's not anything burning, any property. I wouldn't mind seeing G-Force. I mean, I know some companies are doing, you can occasionally see a G-Force figure. That's what I always call it, G-Force, because that's what the cartoon when I watched it as a kid was called. And I'd love to see I like the vehicles, like the plane and everything that they had, where you had like the smaller vehicles, the motorcycle, the race car, the jet. They would fit into the larger vehicle. I'd love to see something like that. I know companies have done that in the past, especially I think like overseas companies, but well, JJ's coming, pretty soon. I don't know if he'll be angry, but he's always angry, so probably. Cops. That'd be another interesting line. Captain Planet. I can't. I don't know if I'd be that interested in a Captain Planet line. I mean, it was one of those shows that obviously had a really good message to it, but it was not a show I ever really watched. Brave Star, Dino Riders. Monster Squad. Nick wants a Deadpool movie, Colossus. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they didn't do Colossus. Mainly because I think the only Deadpool character that has any chance, obviously, of porting over to the MCU is Deadpool himself. I haven't been super interested. I mean, like the Cable and the Domino, those look like nice figures, but I haven't been like dying to get them, just because I don't think we'll ever see them on screen again. What's your day job, MK Solid 82? You're looking at it, man. I run websites that cover action figures and toys. Been doing it for 20 years. Joey asked if I collect if I'm collecting the Super 7 Turtles. I have not yet. Right now, the thing that keeps me most away from that line is the price. But they are putting out some nice stuff. The next wave should be revealed this week. Looks like one of the figures in Wave 4 is going to be Muckman. So I'm definitely interested in seeing that. The Super 7 stuff initially didn't appeal to me as much because they're based on the action figures, the original Playmates action figures, which is not something I ever collected. Turtles was not a toy line I collected as a kid. I watched the cartoon, which is why I like the NECA stuff, but I didn't collect the original toys. So the nostalgia there isn't as much, and then when you factor in that the Super 7 stuff costs, like $40 a figure, 40 plus a figure, it's harder for me to collect that line because of price, but they could pull me into it, I would say. And they're re-releasing the first wave, or they're going to make some slight changes to it, but they're essentially re-releasing the first wave. Definitely easier to get than NECA stuff. And I have to laugh. I don't know if any of you caught the interview that the guys at Fush did with Brian from Super 7. And having worked in this industry and talked with a lot of these guys and covered these guys, I feel like I pick up on things that maybe other people don't. But there was at one point in that interview where Brian was talking about how they have a good relationship with NECA and how they sat down together and talked about not releasing the same characters at the same time, which I'm sure they did. It wouldn't make a lot of sense for them to both release the same characters at the exact same time. But at one point, Brian kept he kept repeating multiple times, he kept saying, and we really want to make sure that our figures are readily available to everybody. And every time he said that, I felt like he was making a little dig at NECA because we all know how difficult their figures have been to get. So I just kind of had to laugh. In one breath, he was like, "Oh yeah, we have this great relationship with NECA. We're friends and everything." And then he kept making these little digs at him about we really want to make sure that we're making our figures readily available. And I just had to laugh at that. Don Cheadle as Captain Planet definitely needs a figure. Yeah, that would be funny. Darkseid gave up on NECA's line completely. I can. The very first wave I bought on the secondary market because I wanted to check them out, and I couldn't find them in the store. But after that, I said no more. I wasn't going to buy any more in the secondary market, and I haven't, thankfully. I've yet to see any of them in any of my Target stores or be able to get them online. But thankfully to some of you guys out there who did find the figures and sold them to me at cost, I am so far. I haven't gotten the latest 2-pack, but I'm caught up on I'm still waiting for I pre-ordered the Metalhead figure from NECA directly, and I don't know when they're gonna. They haven't announced when those are gonna actually start shipping out. But I am caught up on the latest wave, and as long as I can keep getting them at cost, whether I find them myself or somebody sells it to me at cost, I will keep collecting the line. And with the latest wave, the Wave 4, as I mentioned, I think I mentioned this earlier in the video, the only one that I really won't have to have is the Splinter and the Baxter Stockman 2-pack. And if I didn't get that, if I couldn't find that for some reason, then I might not get the line. If I don't find the others, it won't be the end of the world. If I do find them or what have you, I probably will go on and pick them up, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. But you can't have a turtle collection without having Splinter, right? I mean, and Baxter's a pretty important character as well. So there's certain figures that I don't, the Triceraton, not a big deal to me if I didn't get that. I wouldn't mind the Roadkill Rodney, but so far, I've been able to get the figures at cost, and so I'm continuing to collect it because I do like the line. I prefer the animated series stuff because that's what I watch. That's what I'm most familiar with Turtles, and we'll continue to collect it. But I certainly with you there that it is very challenging to collect that one. All right, we're getting close to 11, so let's get to. Uh-oh. What did I do with the final question? Oh, it's under the poster. All right, we got one more question here, so let's go on and ask it. Now, if you're just joining in, tuning in, the way this works, I've asked 4 questions already, 4 trivia questions, and I'm going to ask this 5th one, and then the first correct answer that I see come across my screen, I will read off their name, and that person will win the round, and their name will go in this bowl. So, and then I'm going to draw one of these names, and that person will win the $100 store credit to Big Bad Toy Store. So, no, I don't think we've had, we've had no repeat winners. If you'd gotten all of the questions right, you could have had your name in there multiple times, but we've got right now we've got 4 different people in the bowl, and now we've got one last question here that I'm going to ask, and then you'll want to try and answer as quickly as possible. And this one's a pretty tough one. I've been with the lack of much in the way of new TV programs, I've been watching a lot of old 80s shows, A-Team and Knight Rider. So this question, it comes from Knight Rider, but it is somewhat toy related. So the question is, which one of these well-known 80s cartoon voice actors did not appear in the original Knight Rider series? Was it A, Alan Oppenheimer, who played the voice of Skeletor in the original cartoon, He-Man cartoon, Peter Cullen, who played Optimus Prime in the Transformers cartoon, or Casey Kasem, who's done a lot of voices, but for our purposes, we'll go with Cliff Jumper in the Transformer cartoon. So which one of those did not appear in the Knight Rider series? All right, the first correct answer I am seeing comes from SGF 129, which I believe is his second win. So he has 2 entries. The correct answer, the voice actor that did not appear in Knight Rider, was Casey Kasem, who never appeared in Knight Rider. Alan Oppenheimer, who did the voice of Skeletor, appeared in 1 episode. He played a general. I was again, I've been watching old Knight Rider episodes, and he appeared in one of the episodes. I was like, wow, that's Skeletor. I knew Peter Cullen. Peter Cullen does the voice of Carr, Kit's nemesis, evil duplicate. So I knew that one, but I didn't realize that Skeletor had actually appeared in an episode of of Knight Rider. In fact, I didn't realize that that actor was actually a regular actor. I thought he was just a voice actor, but yes, he appeared in an episode as an actual. Peter Cullen was just the voice of Carr, but Casey Kasem never appeared in Knight Rider. So that was the correct answer. So SGF, as I said, I guess you've got the advantage here since you have 2 entries into the drawing. Okay, so now yeah, Osman, Peter Cullen actually played Carr in the original Knight Rider series, and Carr appeared in 2 different episodes, but then he actually reprised the role in the more recent Knight Rider series, Knight Rider 2000 or whatever they called it. He actually played Carr in that as well. So, yes, that was Optimus Prime, and I want to say he maybe did that before actually. I don't remember which came first, Carr or Optimus Prime, but they were both pretty close to the same time. But yes, Carr. So Optimus Prime and Skeletor both appeared in Knight Rider, but Cliff Jumper and Casey Kasem also. I mean, Casey Kasem's done a lot of voices, including like Robin and the Super Friends and things like that. And he's in Scooby Doo. He's done voices in Scooby Doo and stuff. So obviously, and Casey Kasem's also known for being a disc jockey and used to do the New Year's countdown and all that stuff. But he was never in Knight Rider. I forget what voices he did on Scooby Doo, but he definitely did some voices. Yeah, and he was a radio DJ. American Top 40. And yes, Vigil, Casey Kasem has passed away. Okay, so we've got 5 cards in here, 4 entries since one of you have 2 entries in here. So, like I said, SGF has a little bit of an advantage here, but we'll see if he actually comes away with the prize. I'm trying to mix them up really good. Salome is left, so can't get her to actually draw. Now the way this is going to work is I'm going to call out your name, and if you're one of the people who answered early questions who are no longer watching, hopefully they will be back tomorrow to check who won. So, you know, if you don't respond tonight, don't worry. But I'm going to announce the name, and then you'll need to email me, and I'll give you my email here. It's jay@enewsi.com, and I'll put it in the video description as well, and then you'll just need to contact me. I'm still just, I know there's only 5 teams in here, but I just want to. The guy stuck in the U.S. Unfortunately, I don't think your name is in here, so I don't think I'm going to be calling you. Rodnick Trucker, 6-inch crow figure. There is a 7-inch crow figure coming from Diamond Select Toys. Not sure where that comic came from, but if you're a crow fan, there is a 7-inch figure coming. Okay. I have the winner's name in my hand. I've not looked at it yet, so I don't know who's won. I'm trying to drag out the suspense as long as possible. The winner of the $100 store credit to Big Bad Toy Store is John Wood, who got the correct answer on the NECA question. So John, if you're still watching, congratulations. Again, you can email me at jay@enewsi.com. Now, not that I would think any of you would try and pull a fast one, but I will have you verify, so don't try and impersonate John. There he is, John Wood. Congrats, man. So email me, and then basically we'll get you hooked up with that $100 store credit to Big Bad Toys. John, What are you gonna get, John? Do you know what you're gonna get, or you're undecided? Maybe John passed out. I don't know. Anyway, all right. So it's after 11. So we've surpassed our 2 hour mark. I want to thank everybody who's tuned in tonight. It's always fun to sit down and listen to you guys. That's what I like about these live streams is just hearing directly. I don't always get a chance to read through all the comments on videos here on YouTube. Um, you know, I try to read comments on YouTube. I try to read comments on Facebook. I try and read comments on the forums, but there's a lot of comments out there, so I don't always get to read all the comments there. So I'm doing these live streams just so I can hear from you guys. So again, I really appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Congrats to John. Thanks for everybody who participated. Until next time, guys, stay safe out there, and I'll catch you guys later.